You're hurting right now. I know you are. Maybe it's recent pain, a fresh wound, something that just happened that's still raw and bleeding. Or maybe it's old pain, something you've been carrying for years, a weight that's been on your shoulders so long you've almost forgotten what it feels like to not carry it. Maybe it's the pain of betrayal, someone you trusted who broke that trust, someone you loved who left, someone you believed in who let you down. Maybe it's the pain of failure, a business that collapsed, a dream that died, an opportunity that slipped through your fingers, goals you set that you didn't achieve. Maybe it's the pain of loss, someone who's gone who's never coming back, a relationship that ended, a chapter of your life that closed. Maybe it's the pain of rejection, not being chosen, not being good enough, not being wanted, being overlooked, dismissed, or forgotten. Whatever it is, you're hurting, and you have a choice. You can let that pain destroy you, let it consume you, let it define you, let it become the story of your life, the thing that broke you and kept you broken. Or you can do something different, something powerful, something that changes everything. You can transform that pain into fuel, into drive, into motivation, into strength. You can take the very thing that's trying to destroy you and use it to build yourself into something unstoppable. That's what this is about. Not pretending pain doesn't exist, not bypassing it or spiritually avoiding it, not toxic positivity or empty platitudes, but actually using pain, channeling it, converting it from something that weakens you into something that strengthens you, from something that destroys into something that builds. Most people don't do this. Most people let pain break them. They become victims of their circumstances. They use their pain as an excuse for why they can't succeed, why they can't grow, why they can't become who they're capable of becoming. But a few people, a very rare few, do something different. They take their pain and they forge it into power. They let their suffering become their strength. They use their wounds as fuel for their transformation. And those people, they become unstoppable because they've learned to convert the very thing that should have destroyed them into the very thing that makes them unbreakable. That's what you're going to learn. How to take whatever pain you're carrying and transform it into power that propels you forward. Not by ignoring the pain, not by pretending it doesn't hurt, but by facing it, processing it, and then deliberately channeling it into constructive action. Let me show you exactly how this works. First, you have to stop running from the pain. Most people's first instinct when they experience pain is to avoid it, numb it, distract from it, anything to not feel it. They turn to substances, alcohol, drugs, food, shopping, gambling, sex, whatever temporarily makes the pain go away. Or they turn to distractions, endless scrolling, binge-watching, video games, anything that occupies their mind so they don't have to feel what they're feeling. Or they turn to denial, pretending everything's fine, putting on a brave face, refusing to acknowledge that they're hurting, acting like nothing happened. But here's the problem. Pain that's avoided doesn't go away. It just gets buried. And buried pain doesn't die. It festers. It grows. It seeps into everything. You think you're avoiding the pain, but really, the pain is controlling you, shaping your behavior, limiting your choices, keeping you stuck. You can't transform pain you won't acknowledge. You can't convert pain you're running from. You can't use pain you refuse to feel. So the first step is stopping the running, stopping the numbing, stopping the avoiding, and instead facing it, actually feeling it, sitting with the discomfort, acknowledging the hurt. This is hard. This is probably the hardest part because pain hurts. That's why we avoid it. Our entire nervous system is designed to move away from pain. But you have to override that instinct. You have to be willing to feel what you're feeling, to acknowledge what happened, to sit with the discomfort without immediately trying to make it go away. Not forever. You're not going to wallow in it. You're not going to make it your identity.
but you have to be willing to feel it fully before you can transform it. So you sit with your pain, you let yourself feel it, you acknowledge it. This hurts. What happened to me hurts. I'm in pain, and that's okay. You don't judge it, you don't shame yourself for feeling it, you just let it be there, present, acknowledged, real. This creates space, space between you and the pain. You're not the pain, you're the person experiencing pain, and that distinction matters. Second, you extract the lesson. Every painful experience contains information, lessons, insights, things you need to learn. Sometimes the lesson is about other people, about who you can trust, about red flags you missed, about patterns you need to recognize. Sometimes the lesson is about yourself, about your own patterns, about weaknesses you need to address, about blind spots you didn't know you had. Sometimes the lesson is about reality, about how the world actually works versus how you thought it worked, about what's true versus what you wanted it to be. Your job is to extract these lessons, to mine the painful experience for every piece of useful information it contains. Not to make the pain worth it, nothing makes real pain worth it, but to ensure that you at least get something valuable from it, to make sure you don't just suffer for nothing. So you ask yourself questions, hard questions, honest questions.
Someone betrays you, and the implicit message is, you weren't worth being loyal to. Someone leaves you, and the implicit message is, you weren't enough. You fail at something, and the implicit message is, you're not capable. You get rejected, and the implicit message is, you're not good enough. These messages are lies, but they feel true when you're in pain. They sink in, they become beliefs, they become the story you tell yourself about who you are. And if you accept these messages, if you let them become your identity, the pain has won. It's not just hurt you, it's defined you, limited you, destroyed your potential. But you can reject these messages. You can decide they're false, and you can use your pain to fuel proving them wrong. This is where pain becomes power. When you take the very message that was supposed to break you and you use it as motivation to build yourself into living proof that the message was false. Someone said you weren't good enough? You're going to become so successful, so capable, so undeniable that the lie is obvious. Someone betrayed you because they didn't value you? You're going to build such an incredible life that it's clear the loss was theirs, not yours. You failed and felt like you weren't capable? You're going to develop your skills, try again, and succeed so completely that the failure becomes just a stepping stone. You decide what you're going to prove. You get specific about it. You write it down. I'm going to prove that I am worthy of loyalty by becoming someone of such character and value that good people naturally want to be in my life. I'm going to prove that I am enough by building a life so full and meaningful that it's undeniable. I'm going to prove that I am capable by achieving goals that seemed impossible when I started. This decision transforms pain from something that happened to you into fuel for what you're going to do. It converts your hurt into determination, your suffering into resolve. Fourth, you channel the energy. Pain creates energy, emotional energy, a kind of intensity that can be incredibly powerful if directed correctly. Think about how anger can make you feel, that surge of energy, that intensity, that fire. Pain creates similar energy. It's uncomfortable, it's intense, but it's also powerful. Most people let this energy dissipate randomly. They direct it destructively at themselves or others, or they just let it burn out without using it. But you're going to channel it, direct it, use it deliberately. Every time you feel the pain, every time it surfaces, you're going to use that energy to take action toward your goals, toward proving what you decided to prove. You feel the pain of betrayal? You use that energy to work on your business, to develop yourself, to build something.
You feel the pain of rejection? You use that energy to train, to learn, to improve your skills. You feel the pain of loss? You use that energy to honor what you lost by living fully, by not wasting the time you have, by making your life meaningful. The pain becomes the trigger, the reminder, the fuel. Every time it hurts, you do something productive, something that moves you forward, something that builds toward the proof you decided to create. This is practical, specific, actionable. You're not philosophizing about pain. You're using it, converting it, channeling it into concrete action. And here's what happens. Over time, you start to associate the pain with progress. Your brain begins to recognize that pain triggers productive action, that hurt leads to growth. The pain doesn't go away immediately, but it begins to serve you instead of destroying you. Fifth, you build a monument to your pain. Not a monument of victimhood, not a monument of suffering, but a monument of transformation. You're going to build something so significant, so impressive, so undeniable that when people see it, they'll never believe what you went through to create it. This is your greatest work, your masterpiece, the thing that makes all the pain worth it, not because it was worth going through the pain, but because you refused to let the pain be for nothing. Maybe it's a business you build. Maybe it's a body you transform. Maybe it's a book you write. Maybe it's a skill you master. Maybe it's a life you create that's so full and meaningful that it speaks for itself. Whatever it is, it's born from your pain, forged by your suffering, built with the energy that could have destroyed you, but instead fueled you. And when it's done, when you've built it, when it stands as evidence of what you've become, that's when the pain transforms completely. It's no longer just pain, it's the price you paid for greatness, the fuel that powered your transformation, the crucible that forged you into something stronger. People will see what you built and they'll be impressed. They'll ask how you did it, and you'll know the truth. This monument was built with pain as mortar, suffering as fuel, hurt as motivation. But they won't see that. They'll just see the result, the power, the strength, the achievement. And that's okay, because you're not building this monument for them. You're building it for you, as proof, as evidence, as the physical manifestation of pain transformed into power.
The loss you endured teaches you about meaning, and you help others find meaning in their own losses. Your pain, transformed into power, becomes a light for others in darkness, and that gives it meaning beyond just your own transformation. Now let me tell you what actually happens when you do this. When you face your pain instead of running from it, when you extract the lessons, when you decide what you're going to prove, when you channel the energy, when you build your monument, when you help others, everything changes. The pain doesn't magically disappear. You don't suddenly become immune to hurt. You don't transcend being human. But the pain's relationship to you changes. It stops being something that controls you and becomes something you use. It stops being your master and becomes your fuel. You develop a kind of strength that people who haven't suffered can't access. A depth, a resilience, a power that comes from having been broken and then reassembling yourself stronger than before. You become someone who's not afraid of pain because you know what to do with it. You know how to transform it. You know it can't destroy you, only fuel you. And that makes you dangerous in the best possible way because there's nothing anyone can do to stop you. The worst has already happened. You've already hurt. You've already suffered, and you've learned to use that suffering as power. What can they threaten you with? More pain? You know how to transform that. More failure? You know how to learn from that. More loss? You know how to honor that through action. You become unstoppable, not because you're invincible, but because you've learned to use the very things that should stop you as fuel to keep going. People will see you and wonder how you do it, how you keep going, how you stay strong,
How you build despite what you've been through. And the answer is simple. You learned to turn your pain into power. You learned to transform suffering into strength. You learned to use what happened to you as fuel for what you're going to become. Let me give you some specific examples of what this looks like. Someone betrays you, deeply, in a way that fundamentally changes how you see relationships. Most people would become cynical, closed off, unable to trust, bitter. But you face the pain. You feel the hurt. You extract the lesson, what red flags you missed, what patterns you need to watch for, what boundaries you need to establish. You decide what you're going to prove, that you can build meaningful relationships with people who deserve your trust, that you're capable of choosing better, that one person's betrayal doesn't define what's possible. You channel the energy. Every time you feel the pain of that betrayal, you work on yourself, you develop better judgment, you strengthen your character, you become someone who naturally attracts trustworthy people. You build your monument, a life full of genuine, healthy relationships, a circle of people who prove that trust is possible, a version of yourself that's wiser, stronger, more discerning because of what happened. And then you help others. You share what you learned. You help people recognize red flags. You show them that betrayal doesn't have to make you bitter, it can make you better. The betrayal that could have destroyed your ability to connect instead made you someone who connects more deeply, more wisely, more meaningfully. Pain transformed into power. Or you fail catastrophically. A business collapses, a dream dies, something you invested years into falls apart. Most people would quit, give up, decide they're not capable, let the failure define them. But you face the pain, you feel the disappointment, the shame, the sense of loss. You extract the lesson, what went wrong, what you didn't know, what skills you need to develop, what you need to do differently. You decide what you're going to prove, that you're capable of success, that one failure doesn't determine your potential, that you can learn, adapt, and try again better. You channel the energy. Every time you feel the pain of that failure, you study, you practice, you develop the skills you lacked, you take action on what you learned. You build your monument, a success so complete, so undeniable, that the earlier failure becomes just a chapter in a larger story of triumph. Not the end, just a lesson. And then you help others. You share your failure openly. You show people that failure isn't fatal. You help them learn from your mistakes so they don't have to make the same ones. The failure that could have ended your journey instead became the foundation for your success. Pain transformed into power. Or you lose someone important, someone irreplaceable, someone whose absence leaves a hole that feels like it will never be filled. Most people would shut down, stop living fully, go through the motions without really being present. But you face the pain, you feel the grief, you sit with the impossible weight of loss. You extract the lesson, how precious time is, how important it is to be present, how much meaning relationships bring, how you want to live the rest of your life. You decide what you're going to prove, that you can honor what you lost by living fully, that you won't waste the time you have, that their impact on your life will be measured not by their absence, but by how you live because of knowing them. You channel the energy. Every time you feel the grief, you live more intentionally, you're more present, you create more meaning, you connect more deeply with people who are still here. You build your monument, a life so full, so meaningful, so rich with connection and purpose that it stands as a testament to what you learned from loss, not moving on, moving forward, carrying what mattered with you. And then you help others. You sit with people in their grief. You show them that loss doesn't mean the end of meaning. You help them find ways to honor what they've lost through how they live. The loss that could have destroyed your capacity to engage with life instead deepened it beyond what you thought possible. Pain transformed into power. This is what's possible when you refuse to let pain have the final word, when you decide that what happened to you won't determine what you become, when you take suffering and forge it into strength. So here's what I want you to do right now. Think about the pain you're carrying, the thing that hurts, the wound that's still open or the scar that still aches, and make a decision right now, today. You're not going to let this pain destroy you. You're not going to let it define you. You're not going to let it limit what you're capable of becoming. Instead, you're going to transform it. Use it. Channel it. Face it. Stop running. Stop avoiding. Sit with it. Feel it. Acknowledge it. Extract the lesson. Figure out what this painful experience is teaching you, what you need to learn, what you need to change, what you need to understand. Decide what you're going to prove. What false message came with this pain? What are you going to prove wrong? What are you going to build that demonstrates the lie? Channel the energy. Every time the pain surfaces, use it. Convert it into action. Let it fuel your work, your growth, your progress. Build your monument. Create something significant, something that stands as proof of transformation, something that shows pain didn't destroy you, it forged you. And eventually, help others. Share what you learned. Show them the path. Be proof that transformation is possible. This is how you turn your pain into power. This is how you transform suffering into strength. This is how you use what happened to you as fuel for what you're becoming. Your pain is real. I'm not diminishing it. I'm not telling you to just get over it. I'm telling you that you have a choice about what you do with it. And that choice determines whether the pain destroys you or builds you. Choose to build. Choose to transform. Choose to turn your pain into power. Because the world doesn't need more victims of circumstance. The world needs more people who take what tried to destroy them and use it to become unstoppable. Be that person, starting now, starting today. Turn your pain into power. That's the path. That's the choice. That's what makes you unbreakable.